I think it's safe to say that most of us wish we were in a better position than we are now. Aspirations for something greater. Some may never feel content, no matter how far they ascend, and continue to covet power, money, or notability. If you were given a golden ticket, the answer to your prayers, a bona fide guarantee that you'd be set for life, would you use it responsibly, or only try to exploit it and get more? William was one of those mediocre, broke performers down on his luck on the streets of London. But when he was blessed, or rather cursed with the discovery of the Codex Umbra, he used the black magic within it to make a name for himself on the stage as the amazing Maxwell, manipulating shadows incarnate with just his hands. All this toying with malevolent forces had unintended consequences. A mind torn apart and a relationship on the rocks, all culminating in that fateful final act. With 75 health, 150 hunger, and 200 sanity, after being freed from the Shadow Throne, Maxwell still had, at least to a limited sense, some control over the forces of the Constant, using nightmare fuel as a catalyst for all his abilities. My name is LimeLichen. Dust off your top hats and say those magic words as I tell you all about how it feels to play Maxwell. Yeah, you heard that right in the intro. Maxwell unfortunately only has 75 health, the same as Wes. With those weak old bones, he incurs much more risk from being in poor condition. Freezing, burning, and starving are much more dangerous situations as you're given less time to recover. Every combat encounter is a gamble with that small health pool. A 50 damage strike goes from somewhat troubling as everyone else to absolutely devastating as Maxwell. Tentacles can get you super quick too if you're not careful. I mean, you can still fight just about anything, as unlike Wes, Maxwell has no damage penalty, but do you really want to risk it? I got absolutely clobbered by Deerclops and almost skipped him. Being cold and insane sapped away more health than the boss ever did. That's probably what'll kill you the most. Damage from where you least expect it. Wearing armor is a must for literally anything. You could be ambushed at any point. Craft football helmets as soon as you can, and carry life-giving amulets for resurrection, or maybe just get good at the game. It's entirely possible to avoid damage if you know all the attack patterns of whatever you face. I, of course, am not that good at the game and will continue to forget to take off my insulating clothes to equip armor. Don't be like me. I'm very absent-minded and my chat will not hesitate to let me know how much I suck. Oh, by the way, remember to subscribe to see me live recording these videos. I play other games than just DST too, so stay tuned every weekend. The only thing that can solve all these issues is getting someone else to take the brunt of that damage. What's that noise? I haven't brought up these fluffy beasts since Wendy's video, but man are they super applicable here. You want someone to absorb heavy blows from bosses? Use Beefalo. You want speed unmatched on foot except by expensive boosting items? Use a Beefalo. They're the best solution to Maxwell's osteoporosis. Personally, I recommend making them ornery for extra damage, but be warned that if you hop off or are bucked off by an enemy attack, you'll have to feed them to get back on. Sometimes this got me into a lot of trouble. Let me on! Let me on! Although his body may be limited, his mind is fortified. Maxwell has a constant positive sanity aura of 6.75 sanity per minute, which comes from his dapper appearance. It's great for exploring at night and in the caves during the early game, but can get annoying when you start needing nightmare fuel for his other abilities and late game items. You could eat blue mushrooms for a cheap healing source as well as its sanity-sopping properties, so all hope is not lost. You could also consume your meat raw and fresh off the carcass, as cooking meat doesn't raise its hunger value, it only removes its sanity penalty, so enjoy beef tartare to your heart's content. Regardless, Maxwell has methods of his own to generate that dark energy. He's the disgraced king of nightmares after all, and still holds some of his shadow-bending abilities. With some nightmare fuel and a top hat, Maxwell can enchant it into a magician's top hat. It has the same sanity restoration as a normal top hat, and a secret pocket dimension with 12 inventory slots, like Shadow Chester. Speaking of which, it shares that space with Shadow Chester as well as Maxwell's other exclusive item, the Magician's Chest. You gain a remote access to key items whenever you may need them, at the literal drop of a hat. Don't put any food in it though, all perishable items will rot 50% faster, including living creatures. Despite being magic, it has the same durability as its non-magical variant. You can use it as a normal top hat, but why would you? Opening the Pocket Dimension inventory doesn't drain the durability, so if you keep its use to a minimum, you can keep it forever. You must stand still to use it, so keep sparsely used but nevertheless important items within it to make effective use of space. What's funny is that making the top hat magic used to be a spell rather than a crafting recipe, which makes me think he could just enchant any old hat to be a storage location. I'm imagining Maxwell in the modern world enchanting a baseball cap and stealing beer and hot dogs out of a 7-Eleven. As well as being able to store all his shit in his hat, he also spawns with a copy of the Codex Umbra, which is strange because I always thought the constant was inside the book itself. I guess it acts more as a conduit for the dark energy in the constant. Slasher, once again, we need another theory video, this time on the cosmology of the Don't Starve universe. We're getting off track. The Codex Umbra gives Maxwell 20 uses of 4 different spells, and its power can be replenished by nightmare fuel, each unit of which restoring 25%. You can either manifest traps or summon shadow clones to perform specific tasks. The first spell, Shadow Prison, traps all creatures it caught in its radius in cages of shadow pillars. All the spells have delayed deployment due to the book's animation, taking about a half second to finish. If you set off the spell while a creature is not yet in range, then it walks into the circle within that half second, they will be trapped, even if only the very tip of their hitbox is within the Shadow Prison. Imprisonment times also vary between normal mobs at 24 seconds to bosses being held for half that time. I think this spell has the highest utility out of all the spells, and I haven't even told you what the other ones do. You can use it to take a breather from more persistent bosses like Dragonfly, or trap swarming minions like during Bee Queen or Crab King's boss fights. The next spell is Shadow Sneak. When cast, it deploys a shadow snare on the floor, and when an enemy walks on it, they're spooked and panicked for about 12 seconds. Certain enemies are transformed into their shadow counterparts and guaranteed to drop nightmare fuel. Even if an enemy is already in its shadow form, you can still scare them and get that nightmare fuel. A prime example of this is the Spelunkies of the Ruins that will endlessly chase you across the caves and somehow don't already have a high nightmare fuel drop rate. Now killing them becomes much more worthwhile to gain huge amounts of nightmare fuel. The last 2 spells make extensions of Maxwell in the form of duelists or servants. Each clone caps your sanity by 15% up to a maximum of 90% or 6 total clones. Shadow servants can chop trees, mine rocks, dig stumps, and pick up stuff off the floor or from plants and bring it to you. They can walk on water or air, and therefore can be used in the sea or in the caves to do actions or grab items just out of reach, like clearing sea stacks or grabbing treasure from off of those cave holes in the ruins. They can be dismissed by hitting them, but keep in mind that other creatures can also hit and kill them, as they only have 1 health. My main issue with these guys is that they can't do other tasks like rowing your boat, tilling the ground, or hammering structures. I admit that it might be too complicated to implement a finer control over these guys, but come on. Are you gonna sit there and tell me you actually want to till the ground by yourself, or have only 1 rower if you play solo? Now, tilling the ground can be explained away. Farming the traditional way isn't always practical, stone fruits are superior, but I at least like to have the option. Kind of like Wirt's Craftsmerms, which can do all the things that Maxwell's Shadow Servants can do, but better, and without a cap on how many you can have. Servants are still good at farming tree guards though, and if you have all 6 shadows deployed, you'll stay insane and can farm as many shadow creatures as you can kill in about a 2-minute time frame. Shadow clones still lack a way of instantaneously dismissing them, like Weber can with his shoebox. Shadow duelists are meant for combat instead of manual labor. They share in Maxwell's low health, but have natural armor that weakens the longer they stay alive, eventually killing them. They have 2 attacks, a simple strike dealing 20 damage, and a dash attack which deals an additional 50%. They can be strengthened by various shadow-based items, indicated by Maxwell's inspection dialogues for them. Every piece has a tier level and scales up the duelist's damage by a set amount. Tier 1 increasing it by 4 per item, all the way up to Tier 3, which raises it by 12 per item. The Shadow Thurible is in a class of its own, raising the duelist's damage by 16. You won't have to worry about losing your sanity while wearing these items, as Maxwell is immune to their passive sanity draining. The practical limit of all these weapon and armor combinations is 60 damage. These guys will be your primary damage dealers. Maxwell combat comes down to trapping with Shadow Prison and sicking all your duelists endlessly upon bosses outside of their effective range and safe atop your beefalo. Klaus was an absolute joke, practically 0 effort and a lucky Krampus sack on my first try. Chat was amazed by my supreme lime luck. Crab King was vanquished quickly by summoning all my duelists and tanking every minion with a Thulsite crown. Dragonfly was a bit more challenging, but we managed to pull through, even if it did take me a good 12 rollbacks. Don't even get me started on the Ancient Fuel Weaver fight. I was cycling through different strategies and contacting DST pros, all the while I died over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Eventually I did crack it and got that OP bone armor, which made killing the Celestial Champion an absolute breeze. Honestly, I'm still scarred by my Deerclops fights as I was calling every boss Deerclops and had PTSD attacks. Hip hip hooray, we killed the Deerclops. I mean, we killed the Moose Goose. Why do I call it Deerclops? For the Monkey Island. Right now? No, I'm gonna fight fucking deer. D-Fly. I'm gonna fight Dragonfly. I keep saying Deerclops. I call every boss. I've called every boss Deerclops this whole stream. While stacking clones can be great for Nightmare Fuel farming, it can get hectic if Terrorbeaks start spawning. You can avoid them entirely by only summoning 5 clones, which puts you just above the insanity threshold, or killing Terrorbeaks until only crawling horrors remain, which are much easier to fight around. You could also just equip the Bone Helm to keep them neutral. Fighting with the duelists kind of ruins much of the challenge that goes into boss fights in this game, namely the prep for all the healing, armor, and weapons, and the risk to yourself. Sometimes you might slip up and end up dead, but if you're really good, nothing stands a chance, even with minimal upgrades to the duelist damage. Is that too OP? Yeah, it is. I can see why this is a problem, but part of me really likes that about characters like Maxwell. A huge part of this game is resource gathering, like a third of it, and if you enjoy doing manual labor to catch up with the likes of Maxwell or Wirt, I'm not going to question your life choices, but doesn't it get a little boring doing all that stuff yourself? Wouldn't you want an easier path? I can understand that trivializing much of the game goes against Don't Starve's MO as an uncompromising survival game, but like, are you really missing out on anything if you can skip chopping hundreds of trees by hand, or streamline the bosses? Sometimes, I just want to relax in my cute and quirky little Burton-esque survival sandbox game. Is that too much to ask? There's a certain type of player that still plays this game with other people. I know, right? Shocker. So let's get down to brass tacks and discuss how Maxwell fares with cooperation. All the characters in this game operate on a spectrum of selfish or selfless gameplay mechanics, as in how much other characters benefit from their perks or items. Maxwell falls somewhere in the middle, but slightly further towards the selfish side. Maxwell's Codex can only be read by him, even though he can read all of Wickerbottom's books. While he can still gather materials for all his friends, his shadow servants are still loyal to him and him only, unlike pigs, which can also perform manual labor and fight and can be tamed by almost anyone. Maxwell's low health can be burdensome to worry about, as if you aren't a good enough player, you'll be dying a lot, removing one of the most powerful characters from your roster and draining everyone's morale with your ghostliness. In my opinion, the amazing Maxwell is better off as a solo act. Even his Steam trading card art seems to promote this attitude. The other survivors probably don't like him much either, as he's single-handedly responsible for all of their suffering. Maxwell really is amazing. Even with his one downside, it doesn't make him any less capable. When I first started, I was pretty dogshit at him, but as time went on, I was able to better use Maxwell's abilities. Even though his frailty looks scary, I implore everyone to pick him up and find out just how it feels to play Maxwell. Thank you so much for watching, and a special thanks to my YouTube members, Chirachnid and Governor. The poll posted after this video won't be for the next video, but the following one, as I already planned on doing Wartox's refresh. Join the Discord as well if you want to get better notifications and interact with me directly. I'll see you next time. Stay sour.